Hey guys, how's it going? TechSpecs here. Hope you're doing well. Over the last couple of weeks or so, I've been using the Lenovo IdeaPad 5, which is a lower mid-range laptop, and at the price of £429, it's safe to say that it is quite the deal. Sure, there still are some inevitable sacrifices that have been made, which we will get into a little later on in the video, but the IdeaPad 5 certainly doesn't sacrifice in the key areas that most other budget laptops will do. The most important one being performance. Inside of the IdeaPad 5 there is an AMD Ryzen 3 4300U processor, along with an integrated AMD Radeon graphics card and 8GB of DDR4 RAM. But the thing that I think that makes it so fast is the 128GB SSD that is paired with those specs. Like all other SSDs, there's a crazily fast read-write speed and basically zero lag whatsoever when opening apps, booting up, and performing any tasks in day-to-day usage. During my testing, I managed to execute large 400-line coding projects in Visual Studio with ease, done some light photo and video editing, as well as general Microsoft Office and Teams usage and internet browsing without any issues at all. And this is something that I think that you may struggle with other budget laptops in this price range if you're a heavy user. Not only that, but the fan that pushes airflow through the grills in between the display and hinge rarely has to come on to cool it down, and when it does have to, it has a short and quiet whir that doesn't interrupt your productivity at all. As a machine to get work done, it's absolutely great. Something that's equally as great too is the battery. The 3 lithium-ion cells within the IdeaPad 5 promise a total of 11.5 hours of usage, and having taken it to use all day at school, it will easily last you from morning till evening, no problem. Not only that, but the 65-watt charger that's included in the box is fast at recharging it when you need to, and you can easily get from about 10% to 100 within 1.5 to 2 hours, which is also pretty good. On the topic of charging, there are also quite a few ports on this laptop too, with a USB Type-C port, HDMI, and 3.5mm headphone jack on the left side, and 2 USB Type-A ports and an SD card reader on the right side. All of this variety will definitely let you use most of the peripherals that you could possibly need, and it's nice to know that you aren't restricted to only using a few types of port because it's a cheaper laptop. Another thing that the IdeaPad 5 doesn't sacrifice on is the design. In my opinion, it looks very sleek to match with the Speedy performance. It's pretty thin at 1.79mm thick and fairly light at 1.39kg, and although the whole thing does feel a little large, measuring at about 14.5 inches diagonally, it will easily fit in a backpack or any kind of bag so that you can take it around with you. The build quality also definitely feels sturdy and premium, with a nice metal finish on the lid and a matte plastic along the bottom portion which doesn't feel that cheap. I think that in this blue colour especially, it looks really good. But if you prefer something a little more subtle, you can also get it in a silver variant too. On the inside there's a full-size keyboard including a number pad on the right side, and this is also an area that Lenovo didn't want to sacrifice on. The keys themselves are quite big and offer a solid amount of travel, and in general are comfortable to type on for long periods of time, especially when paired with the large palm rests that are either side on the bottom. They aren't backlit or anything for usage in the dark, but I wouldn't expect anything like that at this price range, and at the end of the day, they're comfortable to type on, and that's the most important thing. The function keys along the top offer a selection of useful tools like a microphone mute button, a projection key for connecting wirelessly to external displays, quick access to airplane mode, settings or calculator, as well as switching between active windows and locking the display. And as I said, there's a number pad on the right side, which in my opinion is a great addition when combined with the calculator shortcut, and above it you have your standard media control keys like play, pause, stop, rewind and forward. The trackpad, much like the keyboard, is also pretty comfortable to use too, and uses a diving board mechanism that lets you press nearly everywhere on it bar the top 10%. I believe that it's made of a smooth type of plastic, and it offers all of the different multi-touch gestures that you would expect in Windows 10, like 2-finger scrolling, 3-finger switching between apps, and so forth, which I find to be very handy. Okay, so what's the catch? Well, like every other budget or mid-range device, Lenovo has had to make some sacrifices somewhere to save on costs, and the one that is most noticeable is probably the display. The IdeaPad 5 has a relatively slim bezeled 1080p screen with a peak brightness of 250 nits, which isn't all that bad, but the experience of actually using it is mediocre when compared with the rest of the laptop. Now don't get me wrong, it's not like the display isn't responsive or doesn't work or anything like that, it's just largely due to the fact that it uses what's known as a twisted pneumatic or TN display panel. A twisted pneumatic panel is essentially a form of LCD display which uses electrodes to polarize the pneumatic crystals inside of the screen. The benefits of this is that you can have very fast response times and minimal motion blur for perhaps gaming, but the cost is that you have to have a worse color range and worse viewing angles when compared to other types of LCD display, like IPS ones. When watching videos or viewing content, the colors can just seem a little washed out due to the reduced gamut size, and when actually looking at it, you need to position the display just at the right angle, otherwise you can get brightening or darkening of all the colors, depending on which way forward or backward you position it. This isn't as bad when outside or in bright conditions, but in darker, lower lit rooms it is definitely more noticeable, and honestly, it sort of ruins the experience of using it. Some of the other quality of life features that are also a little bit mediocre are the webcam and the speakers. The webcam has a 0.9 megapixel lens and can film in 720p, and much like Apple's iMacs and MacBooks, it's usable, but it kind of sucks. Okay, this is a test of the webcam and the built-in speakers on the Lenovo IdeaPad 5, and like I said, it's usable provided you have some alright lighting, but honestly in 2020 we should at least have 1080p cameras on all of our laptops, especially with the whole situation of working from home. One positive about the camera is that it does have a light next to it to tell you when it's on, and it also has a slider that physically blocks anyone or anything from seeing you if you're paranoid. But then again, what is anyone going to see through that potato quality camera? Another thing that's kind of meh, but less so than the webcam, is the speakers. They'll certainly get the job done and are fine for watching videos or for hearing people on video calls, but in general audio is a little tinny and lacks clarity and detail. The speakers do have certified Dolby audio, whatever that means, and they do get loud very quickly, but I think that at this price range they are probably just good enough for most people's needs, and you can't really criticise them that much. So if there are some things that are simply just good enough, do I think that the Lenovo IdeaPad 5 is worth buying? In my opinion, I still think so, as even though the display isn't the greatest, most people looking for a laptop in this price range are likely looking for something that will A, get the job done, B, be fast and responsive, and C, will be comfortable to type on and interact with. The IdeaPad 5 isn't meant to have all of the bells and whistles of a pro laptop, and I think for someone perhaps like a student who is looking for all of them boxes to be ticked, but at an affordable price, the IdeaPad 5 is a go-to option. And that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe, as I would really appreciate it and it helps the channel out. This is TechSpecs here, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.